Auckland Plan is a good place to start. It was adopted by the Council in March last year, and for the first time in our history we've got a shared vision, and that's to be the world's most livable city. It's a single plan to deliver this vision for all of Auckland and its people. It's going to guide Auckland's future over the next 30 years with issues such as transport and housing shortages, creating more jobs and protecting the environment. So over the next 30 years, Auckland's population is expected to grow to 2.5 million. As you can see, the majority of the population growth in New Zealand is going to occur in Auckland, and the majority of that growth will be within the existing Auckland area, leading to a more compact city. These show population growth. The first is for household growth, and the chart over there is employment growth. It's anticipated, because of the population growth, there's going to be another 400,000 extra homes will be needed. Many of these will be in the new population growth areas of Massey, Henderson, Franklin and Hibiscus and Bays areas on the fringes. And the employment growth, as well as a large increase in the city centre, there'll be large increases around these fringe areas too. Now, the key challenge for us in transport will be aligning and sequencing transport infrastructure to support these growth patterns in the future. This shows public transport over the last 90 years. Effectively, as technology has developed, transport patterns have changed. As you can see, trams were dominant initially before the motorways and the Harbour Bridge opened in 1959, so this spans from 1920 to 2011. What's most important about this slide is the last 15 years, which show that there's been a significant growth in public transport. It shows there is an appetite for public transport when funding and services are provided. With the projected population growth scenarios envisaged, this public transport growth needs to continue over the next 30 years. It's also interesting to note that public transport is now at the highest levels since the trams were decommissioned in the late 1950s. So this is the trams. Modelling of the future shows that growth in transport will not be confined to peak periods, while another 450,000 vehicles will be using Auckland's roads in the morning peak in 30 years' time. The city roads will need to provide for an additional 1.35 million trips during the interpeak periods. Growth in demand is expected to be both due to business and people doing more leisure activities. Although the number of cars are expected to grow, the biggest percentage changes in trip making between now and 2041 are projected for freight, public transport and active transport modes. The Auckland Plan has a target of doubling public transport boardings by 2022, so 10 years' time essentially. Currently there are 70 million boardings a year, so that would make it 140 million boardings a year. Gaps in the transport system can't be addressed in isolation. For example, motorways won't flow without the support of arterial roads, and cycling and walking are unlikely to increase unless it becomes safer and more attractive to do so. So this really highlights the need for an integrated planning of the system as a whole. Once a number of significant projects are completed, such as integrated ticketing, electric trains and completing the Western Ring Route section of State Highway 20 at Waterview, there will be a better network. So that's shown around there. The Auckland Plan acknowledges that the transport system is crucial in achieving the vision of the world's most livable city. Transport's facilitates livability of a city, economic growth and productivity. Now, the Integrated Transport Programme was developed to meet these needs by Auckland Transport and New Zealand Transport Association in collaboration with the Auckland Council. It sets the 30-year investment programme to meet the transport priorities in the Auckland Plan across all modes. The cost of fully funding the transport programme over the next 30-year period is estimated at around $60 billion in 2012 dollars. Okay, so this is the theory of the integrated transport programme. Firstly, number one, it's basically look after what we've got, maintain and look after. Number two, optimise what we've got, so make better use. For example, recent work optimising traffic signalling on Dominion Road produced benefits that exceeded costs 30-fold. Number three, limit increased new demand through travel demand management. Travel demand management, or TDM, is already practiced to a limited degree through behaviour change activities such as school and workplace planning, carpooling and road safety education. These are so-called soft TDM measures. As the transport system faces more pressure in the years ahead, so-called hard TDM measures may be justified. These might be, for example, increase in parking charges or congestion charging. The key issue here will be to provide users with a whole range of transport choices. And then finally, number four is build new infrastructure, really as a last resort. However, it is acknowledged that major route improvements will be crucial in facilitating the land use changes and maintaining good links for freight and commercial vehicles over the course of the future. So there will be new links, but we need to look after what we've got first. And this just shows that we're looking at planning the city in an integrated way. It's the policy cascading framework, Auckland Plan, the integrated transport programme, smaller asset plans, and then the regional land transport programme. Okay, so you're wanting to know what's happening in North Harbour. I'm going to talk about the existing North Harbour Business Association area, as well as the new Business Improvement District when it comes into force on the 1st of July. Albany Highway, you've probably heard a little bit about this, that it's going to happen. The Albany Highway upgrade relates to the part of Albany Highway between Snapper Rock Road and Albany Expressway. It's about 4 kilometres in length. The purpose of this upgrade is to provide more sustainable travel choices to cater for future growth, improve safety for all road users and ease congestion. The project will provide 4 lanes of traffic. The curbside lanes will be T3 carpooling lanes during morning and peak periods. There will be new segregated footpaths and cycle paths, helping to promote walking and cycling to school. Where separate footpaths and cycle paths are not possible, we've provided a wide share with care paths for continuity. There'll be indented bus bays and shelters. There'll be undergrounding of overhead power and telecommunication lines. There'll be utility and service improvements and relocations required for the road widening. There'll be stormwater improvements. There's a significant stormwater treatment facilities that serve the Albany Highway area. There'll be landscaping and urban design, so it looks nice. And intersection improvements. Roundabout intersections will be converted to full signalised controls to assist with pedestrian movements and improve the traffic flows. The total project costs are in order of about 70 million. I'm not sure I've written the right construction cost there. It's approximately that, but don't quote that. It includes costs since 2005. The majority is for the construction costs. I've got 46 million in my notes, and I'm not sure which one it is. Tasks completed so far: we've obtained resource consent, building consent for a bridge, designation. We've carried out extensive public consultation throughout the project. And most of the land purchases required have been made. Some minor works have been started at Kristin School, for example, and relocating a major 100 kilovolt power pole. Vector's undertaking the work. However, we still have some legal hurdles of land purchasing to overcome before we can begin the construction work. If all goes well, and it is a big if, construction could start before Christmas. If there are delays, subject to land purchase, it won't start till the 2014. It's very dependent on that. When it starts, it will be a 30-month building programme. So these are some projects that the New Zealand Transport Association are working on. There'll be very soon, later this year, there'll be an upgrade of the Greville interchange. The western roundabout will become signalised. There'll be a bus priority lane and a second southbound lane on Albany Expressway between Bush Road, Macquarie Way and Tower Drive, Greville Road. The work should start later this year. State Highway 1 northbound, there'll be an additional auxiliary lane between Upper Harbour Highway on-ramp and Greville Road off-ramp northbound. Currently it's 2 lanes. Work is expected to take approximately 15 months, and I believe that construction is likely by 2015. Thirdly, Upper Harbour Highway between Constellation Drive and Albany Highway will be upgraded because it forms part of the Western Ring Route, which is one of the roads of national significance. Improvements may include changes to signalised intersections at Unsworth, Paul Matthews and Caribbean Drive, and perhaps other changes to improve traffic flows along Upper Harbour Highway and Constellation Drive. It will also include improvements to the walking and cycling facilities along Upper Harbour Highway. I believe there's no footpath there at the moment. So by the time the Waterview connection opens in 2016, this work should be completed. Investigation, all going well, should start later this year. This is a bit more detailed. It's the forward works plan for the area. It shows we've got a dig once approach, so we know what's happening in the area at different times, so we can coordinate. We've got communications going on in the Apollo Drive area, stormwater improvements, Albany Highway and Rosedale Road, Paul Matthews Drive, water. So this all involves road digging. Footpath improvements on Totoki Place at the Green, and Constellation Drive should be happening this year. Even more minor, we've got some operational changes to the road network in the area, predominantly from a safety point of view. Number one, the crossing to Pinehurst School has been recently put in to help children cross to the school. And on the intersections with Tower Drive and Rosedale Road, number 2 and 3, and Rosedale Road and Apollo Drive, investigation will start soon as to whether they should be signalised. Currently the traffic flows are compromised at different times of the day. And the others are more minor changes. Number 5, for example, is a curb build-out by the reserve on Apollo Drive to help pedestrians cross more safely. As we discussed earlier, supporting people cycling is a key objective of the integrated transport plan. With the massive population growth expected, to have clear enough roads to keep business moving, we need to get people out of their cars. cycling is going to become an increasing part of transport. Therefore, we need to complete the network to give people the option of cycling in a safer environment. Recent Auckland Transport research, it's unpublished, in fact it came out of a meeting yesterday, looked at attitudes and barriers to cycling of a random sample of 1,000 people across the whole of Auckland. It showed that both drivers and cyclists want cycle lanes, and it's mainly for safety reasons. Just as an example, cycling is increasing considerably. East Coast Road has about 4,000 to 5,000 cyclists a year. This just shows the Auckland Cycle Network plan for 2030, and that's blown up for the North Harbour area. Many of the links are completed or will be completed soon. For example, Rosedale Road has been identified as a strategic link. It's been completed recently through to East Coast Road, connecting up Albany Highway with East Coast Road. Albany Off-Road, you see, I didn't use this before. Albany Off-Road route, which is this red line up here, that's due to be completed by the end of June. It links under the Upper Harbour Highway and will enable children to access the schools in the North Harbour area. Albany Highway, of course, will have better cycling facilities later this year or next. And then the Northern Cycleway, which is this red route along the motorway. Funding starts in 2014, but it's a very small amount of funding, so it will most likely be done in stages over the next 30 years. So the busway has been a big success, but we're also looking to improve it. Albany Station car park was extended and completed in late July last year within a 5.5 million budget. There were an additional 550 car park spaces, and they were filled on the second day that they were made available. So there's definitely demand. The total parking capacity in Albany Busway is now 1,100 spaces for cars, with 20 new motorcycle stands and 40 cycle stands that are also being well used. Many of those parking at Albany come from the Hibiscus coast. We're aware of that. Pressure should be taken off the Albany bus station car park when the Hibiscus Coast Park and Ride opens later this year in Silverdale. A busway station will be located there from 2014. More longer term, the Northern Busway will be extended from Constellation to Albany. That's got a 10 to 15 year horizon. And then from Albany to Silverdale on a more likely to be 20 to 30 year horizon. This just shows that we continue to do research specific to your area. Last year we commissioned a joint study with the North Harbour Business Association to better understand freight travel. The conclusions were actually that it was largely working well, but a lot of this is because businesses operated at non-peak times. We're aware that population growth will impact, and so we'll be keeping an eye on freight travel in the area in the future. At Auckland Transport, we have a programme dedicated to travel demand management, essentially the efficient use of networks. The name Commute, it's called Commute, it comes from managing peak demand on the network. The programme encourages people to do anything other than travel by themselves in a private car, essentially. So you've got carpooling, public transport, cycling, walking and teleworking. The message of this slide really is that in addition to reducing congestion on key networks, alternative transport modes have a number of other direct business and economic benefits, such as reduction in sick leave and staff turnover. These are studies, not by Auckland Transport. Obviously, keeping staff happy and healthy has a financial impact. Studies have shown that to replace a role commonly costs in excess of a year's salary, so it's significant. Fitter, happier people are more productive, and reduced travel time, for example, teleworking, often results in more time for work. People working at home, there's an example of Vodafone when it opened 8 years ago, didn't have a desk for everyone, and it meant that the cost of providing services for each worker was just $7,000 a year, as opposed to the New Zealand average of $12,500. So there are significant savings there by doing smarter business. And again, there are wider society benefits from changing behaviour. It places less impact on the health systems and environment, and there can also be tangible cost savings through reduced need for infrastructure. Auckland Transport has partnered with North Harbour Business Association for a number of years. More recently, over the last year, we've been working with Janine Brinston, the General Manager, and Bridget Rogers, the Transport Coordinator, to put together a programme of travel demand management initiatives aimed at the North Harbour area. These are some of them. To give you an example of what we've done, since July last year, there have been 12 presentations to employees of different businesses about transport. We've distributed over 1,500 transport solution information kits to employees. We've delivered 440 discovery passes, which give people free bus travel for 2 weeks so that they can try a different mode. We've worked with businesses to get 50 carpool spaces designated and over 400 people registered to carpool. And we're also working together to find solutions to transport raised by businesses, such as safety and access issues. Really, that's the end. We look forward to working with the North Harbour Business Association in the future on transport issues. I'd like to thank them for inviting us to present.